Hey everyone, welcome back to Brainstorm. This is Python for NCEA. Now, in this video, we're going to take a look at if statements. Specifically, we're going to take a look at how we can use if statements in order to make decisions in our programs. So, before we can do that, we need to understand what Boolean values are. Now, a Boolean value is a value which can take on just two values. It can be either true or it can be false. So hopefully you can see that by using Boolean values, they're going to allow us to make decisions within our programs, right? If something's true, we're going to go down one path, and if something's false, we're going to go down the other. All right, so let's jump into making some Boolean values, for example. So we're going to write some statements here. The first one is going to be using the less than or greater than symbols. So for example, if I have the statement 4 is less than 5, is that true or false? Well, hopefully you can see, if you remember, this is like the crocodile, and the crocodile eats the bigger number. So the crocodile wants to eat the bigger number, which is 5, so 4 is less than 5, that's true. So that the Boolean value here, or the Boolean value returned from the statement, is going to be true, right? So if I print this, let's print 4 less than 5, Python should return a true value in our idle shell. So if we click F5, you can see that it prints out true, because this is a Boolean value. Now, what if we did 4 greater than 5? 4 is the smaller number, so this the crocodile is essentially eating the smaller number, which is false. So 4 is not greater than 5, so this should print false out in the idle shell. So if I click F5, you can see it goes true for this first statement here, and then it goes false for the second statement here. Let's verify that it works for when the statement is evaluating to true. Let's do 400 is greater than 1. So if we save that and click F5, you can see that that is indeed true. Now, let's also take a look at greater than or equal to. So the greater than or equal to sign, let's do greater than or equal to first. So it's 4 greater than or equal to 4. Well, 4 is equal to 4, right? And because this is saying the crocodile wants to eat the number which is greater than or equal to 4, these are the same number, so that equal sign is going to evaluate the statement to true. So if I save that and click F5, you can see that returns true there. Now, if I made this number larger, let's make it 100, sorry, and we run that, this will now evaluate to false. And you can see it evaluates to false because 4 is not greater than or equal to 100. We can also do less than or equal to, so let's do 4 is less than or equal to 100. This should evaluate to true, and as you can see, it does. So if I comment this out quickly to make things a little bit more clearer, the next type of Boolean statement that we can do is the equal to. So this one's quite useful. So essentially we can do this with strings as well, but let's do it with numbers for now. Now, you'll remember that when we assign variables, we use the equal sign to do so. Now, that's obviously not going to work for Boolean values as well. So when we want to check if something is equal to something else, we use two equal signs. So let's check, is 10 equal to 10? Well, the idle shell should output true because 10 is equal to 10. So as you can see, it outputs true. If we did, is 10 equal to 50? We should get false because 10 is not equal to 50. The last one that we'll look at is the not equal to sign. So we have the not equal sign is a exclamation mark which represents not, and then the equal sign which means not equal. So is 10 not equal to 50? The answer is yes, it is not equal to 50. So we should get true. And as you can see, we do get true. And is 10 not equal to 10? Well, 10 is equal to 10. So we're going to get a false there as well. Now, if you remember just before, I said that we can do this with strings. So this is particularly useful. For example, I can check if the string, or string, let's go with string, is equal to the string, string. If I print this, you can see it's still true. But I can also use check to see that two strings are not equal to each other. So for example, if we do string is not equal to string, well, this is going to output false, right? Because this is the same string. So as you can see, I still get false down the bottom here. And of course, this still applies to variables as well. Okay, now that we understand a little bit about Boolean values, we can move on to if statements. So essentially, if statements are a structure that where we write if and then a statement. And if that statement evaluates to true, we execute a program or execute some block of code that wouldn't be run otherwise. So that doesn't make sense to you. Let's just write it out here and then see how it works. So any if statement in general will start with the letters, or start with the keyword if. So we'll have if, we're going to put a statement here. So I'm just going to write statement, and then we put the semicolons there. If you click enter now, you'll see that it indents here. Now, what we do in the indent is we write what we want to happen if that statement is true. So for example, we could print hello, right? Now, just before we write any statements here, let's just write if true. So that should always be true. So if true, let's print hello. And as you can see, because this statement here is true, the Boolean is true, we're going to execute the body of the if statement. So everything that's indented. And as you can see, we've just got one hello statement here. So it prints hello. So if this statement is true, let's do execute everything which is in the body of the program, and then we continue on. So let's write print and we continue ... So we should get hello and then and we continue. Hello and we continue, right? If this is false, so let's put if false, we should just get and we continue. So let's save that and click F5, and as you can see, we get and we continue. Now I've written up a little scenario here to help us understand what our statements essentially can be, or an example of what a statement could be. So let's go through that scenario. So we want to write a program which checks to see if a person makes less than 14,000 NZD before tax. If they do, we're going to print their take-home pay after tax, and the tax rate is 10.5%. So the first thing we're going to do is take integer input. Actually, we want to take float input because maybe their take-home pay is like, for example, 13,050 cents, or something like that. So I'm going to write salary is equal to float, and inside the float brackets we're going to put input, and we want to ask them what is your salary before tax. Whatever they input, we want to check if that person is making less than $14,000, right? So in order to do that, we need to use an if statement. So if the salary that they make is less than $14,000, we want to do something, right? So essentially, whatever they write in here, let's say that they put in $5. Let's say their salary before tax was $5. If 5 is less than 14,000, so is 5 less than 14,000? The answer is yes. So it's going to evaluate to true. So now this is true, then we want to execute something in here. So what do we want to do if it is less than 14,000? We want to print their take-home pay after tax. So we're going to print your take-home pay after tax is exactly, and we're going to put the curly braces in and use dot format, and we're going to multiply the salary by essentially 1 minus 0.105. Obviously you can do that in a calculator. I don't have a calculator on me, so we're just going to do it in here. Now, if you're a bit confused of how I've done that, you might want to go back and watch videos on the fundamentals of Python. I think that's video 1 or 2. So if we save that and click F5, the idle shell prompts us to enter the salary before tax. Now, let's say that our salary is exactly $13,000. Then you can see our take-home pay after tax is exactly 11635.0. So it looks like we're calculating that correctly. Now, of course, we need to probably format this a bit better. So let's put a $sign there. Now, if we check it, then we get that nice $sign there. So that's really cool. Of course, what happens if the salary is over 14,000 or actually is equal to 14,000? Because remember, if it's equal to 14,000, this is going to evaluate to false. So if the salary is 14,000, you'll see that the program actually ends. The reason it does that is because, well, it's going to continue on to the rest of our program, but we haven't actually written anything, so it just ends there. So if I printed end of program, for example, I run that and I put a number over 14,000, let's say, or equal to 14,000, so let's do 20,000, then it just prints end of program. If I run it and I put $5, we get that the take home pay is $4.475, not 475 cents, sorry, $4.47.5, and then we print end of program. Now, I think I better clarify a couple of things. So if we start from the very left of the program, or where we write our program, and we want to indent, we click the tab and then it will indent for us once. Click tab again, it indents twice. All right, and then we can just use backspace to go back. Okay, let's move on to if-else statements. Now, if-else statements are pretty much the same as if statements, but essentially what we do is we say, if the statement is true, we're going to run it. Run whatever's indented, right? If the statement is false, we want to run another set of code and then move on and continue our program. All right. So let's say, for example, you wanted to check someone's age. If they are under 18, they can't hire a movie, for example. So we would say, if they are under 18, don't let them hire the movie. Else, so if they are now over, so the negation of that statement, so else, which means they are 18 or older, you can let them hire that movie. So let's look at how we would structure that. So we say if statement, and if that statement evaluates to true, let's execute some code, and then we write else, so ELSE, and then our semicolons. And this is not indented, so we need to unindent this line here, so using backspace. So if the statement is true, let's do that. Else, we're going to execute some other code. Now, you can see that these are mutually exclusive. So if I run this, I can never run what's in here. If I run this, I can never run what's in here. And then, of course, we can just continue our program down here. So let's look at the second scenario I've created and see how we can use our if-else statement in this situation. So what's our scenario? Write a program which asks for the user's age. If the user is 65 or older, tell the user that they are old enough to withdraw from KiwiSaver. If they are not, tell the user that they cannot withdraw from KiwiSaver unless they meet special criteria. For example, buying your first home. So let's ask the user for their age. So we're going to take integer input. So int input, what is your age? And let's assume that they enter the age correctly. Then what we want to do is we want to use an if structure to see if they are 65 or older. So if age is greater than or equal to 65, then what do we want to do? Well, we want to print that they are old enough to withdraw from KiwiSaver. So print, let's do congratulations, you are eligible to withdraw from KiwiSaver. Now, what happens if they are, so let's say that they put the age as 70. Is 70 greater than or equal to 65? The answer is yes, they are. So this line will run, and then the rest of the program will continue. What happens if they are less than 65? Well, we're just going to continue running the program anyway, right? So that's not good. What we want to do is we want to say else. And so the else is the negation of the statement. What I mean by negation is the opposite of this statement. So if the age is less than 65, so the statement, if the statement is true, they are 65 or older. What's the opposite of being 65 or older? It's being less than 65. So if the age is less than 65 or else, let's print, sorry, you are not eligible to withdraw from KiwiSaver. Okay, and let's say unless you meet special criteria. Put a full stop there. All right, let's move back. All right, cool. So if I save that and click F5, what is your age pops up. Let's say that I am aged 69. Into that, it tells me, congratulations, you're eligible to withdraw from KiwiSaver, and you can see that this statement here did not run. If I run it again and put my age as 64, well, now it says, sorry, you're not eligible to withdraw from KiwiSaver unless you meet special criteria. So you can see that this is not necessarily always, but most of the time, if and else statements are going to be particularly useful for us. Next, let's take a look at if and else if statements. So we want to use else if statements when essentially we want to check another condition. So for example, let's take the example of age. Let's say that if you are over 20, so if you're 21 or over, you're considered an adult. If you're over 12, so between 13 and 21, you're considered a teen, I guess. And if you're less than that, then you're considered a child. I don't know, right? So essentially how we would structure that is we would need to use if and then else if statements, right? So we would say if one statement is true. Let's do this in here. Then we use else if, so that's shortened to ELIF for elif. Another statement is true. Then let's do this in here. Elif, another statement is true. Let's do everything in here, and we can go on and on and on, and then we can end with an else statement if we want to. We're not going to look at that straight away. We're just going to look at if and else if statements for now. So if and then elif. So for example, let's take our adult situation. So let's say, let's just store the variable in age. So let's not ask for input. Let's say that they're 18. So if age is greater than or equal to 21, let's print you are considered an adult. And then we want to use our elif statement or elif. The age is greater than or equal to 13, and the age is less than 21. Print you are considered a teen. And essentially else, so we can use, we could say elif age is less than 13 and then print your child, but because there's no other options for us, we can just use else. So we can say else, so if the age is not in either of these conditionals, let's just print you are a child. Now it's important to note that if two conditional statements can be true on both lines. So let's say, for example, we made a mistake and we said that the age is greater than, or age is less than or equal to 21. Well, now we're seeing that greater than or equal to or less than or equal to 21 on both times. So if the age was 21, it would technically evaluate true for both of these. In that case, because we run a program top to bottom for now, essentially what's going to happen is it's going to print the very first if statement that it finds, which evaluates the true. So let's remove that. And now if we run this here, we should see you're considered 18. If we change the age to 22, we should get you're an adult. And if we put the age as 1, we should get you're a child. Now you'll see here that I actually did something that I actually forgot about, and that's the use of the AND statement. So let's actually go through that right now. So and or. So what does AND do? Essentially, it checks multiple statements in one in one conditional. So essentially, what this is saying is we've got two statements here, and then what the AND does is that it ANDs the two values together. So essentially, what AND does, if this is true and this is true, then the whole statement is true. If one of these is false, then the whole statement is false. And of course, if both are false, then it's false, and if both are true, then it's true. If one is true and one is false, then it's false. So for example, let's say that you're 17. Are you greater than or equal to 13? Yes. Are you less than 21? Yes. So true and true yields true. So this is going to print. Yep. So the way we structure our if and elif and else statements is that essentially you should, or this statement should only evaluate to true for one of these conditions. So that's all about and. Now, or is, as it might suggest, it says if one of the statements evaluates to true, then we run it. So if I did if age was greater than or equal to 13, or the age is less than 21, then if either of those were true, then we would print this statement here. Obviously, that doesn't make sense. So what's one example where we might use or? So maybe if we want to give discounts if you're a child or if you're an elderly, for example. I don't know why you'll do that, but let's say age is equal to 1. We say if age is greater than 65 or age is less than 10, print, you get a discount. So what this is going to say, if the age is less than 10 or the age is greater than 65. So if one of those evaluates to true, let's run this. Okay, so for example, this should output you get a discount because I'm 1. If I put my age as 100, I should also still get my discount. Alright, so let's actually write the if and elif statement for this scenario. So we want to write a program which checks to see if a person makes less than $14,000 NZD before tax. If they do, print home their take-home pay after tax, which is a 10.5% tax. If they don't, we need to then check whether they make more than 14,000 but less than or equal to 48,000. If they do, calculate their take-home pay. Now, the tax rate for over $14,000 but less than $48,000 is 17.5%. So essentially what we need to do is, for the amount that they make that is less than or equal to 14,000, we tax them at 10.5. Anything after that and up to 48,000 is taxed at 17.5%. So first we need to ask them for their input. So we're going to put salary is equal to int input. And we want to ask them what is your salary. And this should actually be a float because technically they could enter a floating point value. Then we're going to run our if-elif statement. So if they make less than $14,000. So if salary is less than $14,000, what we want to do is we want to print your take-home pay is, then with the curly braces, dot format, and we want to say whatever the salary is right now multiplied by 1 minus 0.105. So that will subtract 10.5% from their total value, and then it will print their final salary. So we did this just in the first if statement here. All right, and we were meant to put the $ there as well, if I remember. So what happens if they make over that, but less than or equal to 48,000? So we need to then run an elif statement, right? Because we want to check another condition. So else, if the salary is greater than or equal to 14,000, and the salary is less than or equal to 48,000, what do we want to do? Well, remember how I said that the 14,000 is still taxed at 10.5%. So whatever the salary is right now, let's subtract off 14,000 to get whatever's left over, which is going to be taxed at 17.5%. Right, so salary is equal to salary minus 14,000. This tells me whatever's left over, right? Then I'm going to tax the salary. So salary is equal to whatever the salary is currently multiplied by 1 minus 0.175. So that's going to take off 17.5%, which is the tax rate. And then the take-home pay is going to be print. We're going to say your take-home pay is $ and dot format. So it's going to be the salary, sorry, not the salary, but it's going to be 14,000 multiplied by 1 minus 0.105. So that's taxing that first 14,000 and then that's added with the salary that they've made that we've already taxed here. Right, so I'm going to put this in brackets just to make sure that it does the bed mass correctly. And the reason I pause for a second is because I've actually made a mistake here. Now, as you can see, it should be if they make more than 14,000, and I've put if they make 14,000 or more. So this should actually just be salary greater than 14,000, but less than or equal to, right? So the first 14,000 is 10.5, and then after that, it's 17.5. So if I save that and run it, what is your salary? Let's say I make $35,000. Then my take-home pay is $29855.0. Alright, so let's take a look at our application questions. So question 1, we want to write a program which calculates the price of admission to the circus. Now, the following prices have been set. So the age is equal to, if the age is 0 to 4, we're going to pay $0 as free. If the age is 5 to 10, we pay $10, 11 to 15, $15, 16 to 25, $25, and then 25 plus $30, right? So actually, let's change this up because this seems to be inclusive and this is not. So let's say that you're age 26 or over, then you pay $30. First, we want to prompt the user to enter their age. Next, we want to use an if structure to calculate and print the total price. And we want to refer to the suggested output for formatting. So, and also, let's make a note, your program should implement error handling for inappropriate ages. So let's say that an inappropriate age would be, of course, if you're less than 0, that's impossible, so that's inappropriate. And let's just say for our sake that the person cannot be over 125. So if that person says that they are like 500, that's also an inappropriate age. And as you can see here, we just print the total cost is this here, and we can enjoy the clowns. If the age is inappropriate, we say this isn't valid, stop clowning around. I should have also put a special one in here for the case where the age is 0 to 4, where we say the total cost, there is no total cost, or it's free, and then enjoy the clowns. Pause the video, have a go, and then we'll go over it. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is prompt the user to enter their age. So age is equal to the integer input what is your age? Okay, so the user is going to enter their age. We want to use an if structure to calculate and print the total price. So let's go top to bottom. So if the age is greater than or equal to 0, and so we want to say and, which means if it's anywhere between 0 and 4, so age is less than or equal to 4, so if it fits this bracket here, so any age from 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, what we want to do is we want to print that the circus is free. So we want to print there is no cost for you today, enjoy the clowns. Or let's make it a little bit more kid friendly, the circus is free for you. Alright, next thing we want to do is we want to check if the age is 5 to 10. So we don't want to use an if-else statement. We don't want to use an if statement because we want to put more options. We want to use an if, else if, else if, else if, else if, else statement. So we want to check else if. So we're going to write ELIF for else if the age is greater than or equal to 5 and the age is less than or equal to 10. So if they're between 5 and 10, we want to say, hey, it costs $10 to watch the circus. So we're going to go print the total cost today is $10, and we want to tell them that they need to enjoy the clowns. Next thing, we want to check if they are between the ages of 11 and 15. So elif age is greater than or equal to 11 and age is less than or equal to 15. So it's pretty much rinse and repeat from here until the end. So print the total cost today is $15, I believe. $15 and enjoy the clowns. I'm going to save myself some writing by doing copy and paste now for the next age bracket. So if the age is greater than or equal to 16, and less than or equal to 25, then we want to print that the cost is $25. And then finally, what we want to say is if the age is greater than 26, then we want to print that the price is $30. Now, technically speaking, we could use an else statement here, alright, but this won't implement error handling. Let's just use an else statement for now to show you what I'm talking about. So let's print that the total cost is, I think it's $30. So if you're 26 or over, the cost is $30. If I run this now, we enter our age. Let's put the age of 1 in, we get the circuses free. Put the age of 6 in, the cost is $10. Put the age of 13 in. Put the age of 13 in, we get it's $15. Put the age of 17 in, we get it's $25. Finally, let's put the age of 70, we get its cost is $30. Now, the problem here is that we do not have any error handling. So if I put the age as -4 or -5, the cost is still $30, but that doesn't make sense. If I try and muck around with the system, let's say that the age was this nice large integer here, 500,000, the cost is still $30, even though that doesn't make sense. So instead of writing in an else statement, we're just going to put an elif statement which says elif the age is greater than 25 and the age is less than 125, or less than or equal to 125. So we're saying this is the acceptable range, which is acceptable adult range, right? So from anywhere from 26 to 125, the cost is $30. Now we've covered every single age that makes sense. So any other age, or any age that's outside the scope of our if statement, is not valid. So we're going to say else, so any other age that we haven't specified, that's not a valid age. So what we're going to do is we're going to print, sorry, this isn't a valid age, stop clowning around. So let's print that statement, save it and run it. And now if we put the age of -6, for example, we get, sorry, that isn't a valid age, stop clowning around. And that pretty much answers that question there, right? So a lot of this if-elif statements and else statements are going to be coming in really handy, really in handy, for your internals, because we always need to be implementing error handling in our internals. Okay, let's look at question 2. We want to write a program which checks if the user has successfully rolled an odd number from a 6-sided die. Start by including import random at the beginning of your program. Next, use random.ranrange and use the brackets 1,7 to generate a random number. So what this does, even though I haven't really taught you the random module, essentially this finds a random number from 1 to 6. So it could be any of the numbers and they have equal probability of being chosen. Store the result in a variable called dice roll. So essentially what this is doing is it's simulating a dice roll from 1 to 6 and it's completely random. Store the result in a variable called dice roll. Use an if structure to determine whether the number is odd, and we want to refer to the suggested output for correct formatting. So if the number is odd, we win, and if the number is even, we lose. Right, so this program is going to be really nice if you're interested in gambling, right? All right, so what's the first thing we want to do? We want to start by including import random at the beginning of our program. So obviously we could include it here, but to make things safe in our program, we always ideally want to write our import statements at the top. So we're going to import random into our program. Right. Next thing we want to do is we want to use random.ranrange to generate a random number and store it in a variable called dice roll. So dice roll is equal to random.ranrange, which generates a random number from 1 to 7, and 7 is non-inclusive. So if you remember from when we did string manipulation, usually this number here is non-inclusive. So this is essentially 1 to 6. So generate a random number from 1 to 6. Use an if structure to determine whether the number is odd. So if dice roll, now remember that this number is either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So if we want to check that if a number is even or odd, we can use the modulo operator. So that's the percentage, if you remember from video 1. So if we mod anything by 2, so any number mod 2 is going to give me either 0 or 1. So if it's 0, that means it doesn't have a remainder. So any even number divided by 2 is always going to give me a remainder of 0, and any odd number divided by 2 is always going to give me a remainder of 1. As a result, any odd number mod 2 gives a value of 1. Any odd number or any even number mod 2 gives me a value of 0. So if the dice roll mod 2 is equal to 0, what do we want to do? Well, we're saying essentially if the dice is even, we're going to say, well, we lost. So we're going to print you rolled, then the number, which is an even number, and then we print you lose. Else. So remember that on a dice we can either have even or odd numbers and nothing in between. So else essentially means if you did roll an odd number, you win. So we're going to print you rolled whatever the number was, which is an odd number, so you win. And we actually need to use our dot format to get our number there. So dot format, and we're going to put in dice roll. And the bottom, we're going to do the same thing. Dot format, then we're going to put dice roll. So if we save this and click run, it's going to automatically generate the number and then find out if we win. So you rolled a 3, which is odd, so we won. Then we rolled 2, so that's even, so we lost. Let's do it a few more times, and we seem to be getting a lot of 2s and 3s here. All right, we've got a 4, we've got a 5, and let's see if I can get a 6 on this one. No, oh well. So 4 is even, we lost. 5 is odd, we won. 5 is odd, we won. Then we rolled 2 again, which was even. So as you can see, our program is generating a random dice roll, and it's telling us if we won or lost. We've kind of created a sort of a mini game inside our program here. Awesome, guys. Thank you for checking out this video on if statements. If you enjoyed, leave a like and stick around for the next video. Cheers.